let's get to the NCAA hearing on recruiting violations. And this is why we do the 5 a.m. production meeting instead of the production meeting the night before, right, Caleb? And this investigation is ongoing for a couple of different reasons. And one is that Jeremy Pruitt, through the Knoxville News Sentinel, will be a witness or at least testify as to his alleged role in paying players at Tennessee, even his wife paying players at Tennessee. That essentially seems to be what's holding this up is Jeremy Pruitt. And I'll give you some insight into that here momentarily. But Jeremy Pruitt doesn't want the 10-year show cause like Donnie Tyndall got. He doesn't want to face severe penalties because he knows he's not an elite coach at the NFL level. And if he doesn't coach in college, then he's going to be the guy who goes and gets coffee in the NFL. So he's fighting tooth and nail to avoid a significant show cause that would keep him out of the college game. And I guess there's part of me that can't blame him. There's part of me that if he's even done half of what's been alleged, he should just fade away. But that's his call, and he wants to fight it. So there he goes. Does he have a case, Caleb?
It's going to be hard for me to believe he has a case. My guess is that he's going to try to flip this back on the university and say that the university threw him under the bus because they want to avoid having to pay out his contract, and they wanted to fire him anyway because he wasn't doing well, and this was an excuse to fire him and not have to pay him. That's what my guess is what he's going to say is. But there isn't just an internal investigation that revealed this. I remember when we broke the story in 2021. It broke on the day of Tennessee's last game that year in 2020, excuse me. And there were multiple other coaches that were quoted anonymously that were just openly saying, oh yeah, they blatantly cheat down there. It was a known thing across all SEC circles that Tennessee was cheating insanely more than any other program, and so brazenly too at the time. And what's funny about it is if it wasn't an issue, you would have had some transfers as you do with the coaching change always. You had a ton of transfers happen after Pruitt was fired. And I think half of that was the administration going to the players and saying, look, you can't stay here. Y'all were part of the scandal. You got to go. Like, simple as that. And I think there's a lot more evidence against him than people realize. I think what he's trying to do is warn the university to stand down because he might have a little bit of dirt on the university in reverse. And I'm not saying he may be wrong on that because I've said from the start, if Pruitt's dirty, Fulmer's dirty.
Well, if you're Philip Fulmer, you want this to go away, and it's not going to. But I know Philip is focusing on his beekeeping nowadays, from what I hear, and he's big into beekeeping. So maybe we'll get him on the show to talk about beekeeping. We have a segment to fill with nothing to talk about. But until that time, he doesn't want this to go any further, and that's why he's definitely faded away kind of into obscurity, keeping with bees, and he's at retirement age. But I will give you this inside knowledge. Since we've been doing this program, I had an intermediary reach out to me on Jeremy Pruitt's behalf to voice his side of the story, so to speak. I really had no interest. And maybe I should have been more journalistically driven, but at the time, I still stand by this, Caleb. I don't see how the extent of cheating as discovered by the university in their reporting, and sure, we've all seen cases in which a big institution, as a matter of fact, in the past 24 hours, wants to bury information. Okay. We've seen that happen, and it could well be the case here. But the fact that Tennessee is clean house from top to bottom, and the fact that they did such a thorough investigation and turned over all this evidence makes me want to say, don't worry, Tennessee fans, everything's going to be fine. But what you just said makes me say, be wary, because Jeremy Pruitt could get in this hearing, and that's what the news is all about. The hearing will be later this month with Jeremy Pruitt. He'll get to talk about his allegations of 18 level 1 NCAA violations. That's the concern. Also, it'll be former defensive coordinator Derrick Ansley and UT officials are scheduled to appear before the NCAA Committee on Infractions for a hearing on April the 19th through the 22nd in Cincinnati, according to Knox News. So he's going to throw everything out there possible. If he's reaching out to media members, and I could be wrong. I think this is very good reporting by Knox News and Adam Sparks, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if his source is Jeremy Pruitt. And Jeremy Pruitt is doing his best to get his side of the story out there. It's incredibly frustrating to me that this can't move along further. Listen, do the right thing. I don't care if it means a bowl ban or whatever Tennessee has to endure because they hired Jeremy Pruitt. Just do it and get it over with. It hangs over the university. It's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to a lot of people who signified a complete change in leadership at the university. That's what frustrates me. Please click the like button. Helps us open it up. Never forget that. Always remember. We appreciate that. Caleb, it just continues to hang over the university, and it's got to be very frustrating for Josh Heupel and the other recruiters on staff.
Oh, yeah, you feel bad for Josh Heupel. You feel awful for the players. You feel awful somewhat for the fans. The university has itself to blame. They hired Fulmer, let Fulmer hire Pruitt, and then let Fulmer turn a blind eye to everything Pruitt was doing, when they knew Fulmer was not qualified for the AD job.
Well, they have themselves to blame, but not the same group of people. I mean, it's a totally different group of people. I mean, I agree that you're
still the same to a certain degree.
Who? I'm sorry.
I mean, they probably have similar. There's probably still some board members and boosters, though, that were players in all this that are still around. I mean, I agree. Different chance to a different AD, but
yeah, it is funny that we haven't heard one booster particularly. I mean, where's this money coming from? That would be my only question that I would still have. I don't have any question about my eyesight anymore, thanks to Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. No contacts, no glasses. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. I did the LASIK, and it was fantastic. And whether it's LASIK, cataracts, or just daily annual vision service that you need, that is Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and they're local right there in Knoxville. So does this clear up before football season? What's a realistic timeline? I'm completely asking you to speculate here because we don't know. I don't think we thought it would go on for 27 months, but a realistic timeline. Does this get done before football season? Or maybe more importantly, if it is any sort of pall hanging over Tennessee's football recruiting, is that taken care of by June, which is now the monster recruiting month? I doubt very seriously it's taken care of by June.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I think it might, and let me break this down why I can go back to a different timetable, but in 2011, Tennessee had their infractions hearing in June of 2011 that year for the Lane Kiffin hostess scandal and all of that. The punishments were landed down in August later that year. So it was only 2 months when that happened. And it was probably one of the most embarrassing things to watch because you had Lane Kiffin and Mike Hamilton at the hearing speaking on behalf of Tennessee, a program neither of them were part of anymore. And it was like, you felt so bad for the rest of the university because it was similar to this situation. You're looking at two people who are responsible for this, who aren't there anymore. One bolted for USC and one tanked the athletic department to a certain degree. So I think if they could do that in 2 months, they could probably figure this out in 2 months after the hearing.
I don't know. I will bet on the side of the NCAA being slow on this. And this doesn't help Tennessee and Josh Heupel because their Big Orange Caravan, which is returning this year with actual coaches going around the state, will be in Memphis April the 18th, Nashville April the 19th, and Knoxville April the 20th. So do you think that Josh Heupel is going to be asked about his backup defensive tackle position while he's on the Caravan, or the ongoing NCAA hearing that's happening in Cincinnati while he's speaking with the media?
Oh, yeah, he'll probably be asked about the ongoing hearing. I'm going to give him credit, though. When Fulmer sat there and dodged the Caravan 3 years ago, which was the weakest thing I think I'd ever seen somebody do, Heupel and the university are saying, okay, we're going to do the Caravan, even though this is going to be on everybody's mind when we're doing it. At least they're not running.
Well, yeah, and that was partially COVID, though, wasn't it?
No, that was 2019. It was 2019 when they did it, when they dodged it.
They just chucked that thing. All
They
right.
can't, they said that it will. They tried to say it'll be a better experience because we're going to send cheerleaders and mascots to go hang out with the fans. That's not what the fans want.
No. No. If you're like, oh boy, let's go hang out with college cheerleaders, it may say something about you. I mean,
yeah,
they may be legal, but they're pretty young. Chris Yao says, remember that no lack of institutional control allegation, very important. That is important, but that's not determined completely yet, is it, Caleb?
no,
I think
no, that's what Tennessee's disputing.
Yeah, Chris, that's what's still very much up for discussion. Okay, so let me give you three options right off the top here. Hoghead said, I don't see a bowl ban. I'm thinking a loss of 8 to 12 Scullies. Back in the day, that's a lot. Nowadays, with the transfer portal, it's not as bad. I'll give you that. So I'm going to say three different levels: bowl ban, scholarship reduction, limit on recruiting travel. Next one, just scholarship reduction. That's going to be B for you. How about that? And then C is just a limitation on recruiting travel. If you had to pick right now where Tennessee will fall in the three of those, what would it be?
Probably B. I'm going to say B because they're fighting this. They probably would have had C if they'd accepted the lack of institutional control, but I'm going to say B.
I've had the feeling all along it'll be 6 to 8 scholarships. Don't know why. Could be 2 to 4, could be 8 to 10, but I've just always felt 6 to 8.
And one thing Tennessee can take solace in, because everybody's saying the NCAA wants to make an example of somebody who's violating rules in this NIL age. Tennessee's not the school to make an example of because this is pre-NIL when they were doing all of this. So if they're going to make an example of somebody, Tennessee's not going to be their target.
No, I wouldn't think so. And I think we all saw that college football is better when Tennessee's good. General Nealon saying, where is Sankey at on all this? Silent. The league headquarters needs to be removed from Birmingham. I think the NCAA's headquarters needs to be in Birmingham. Or if the SEC moves to Atlanta, I think they need to take over. And I've said this before that, listen, the NCAA, all they do is put on a basketball tournament nowadays. Why are they even getting a significant call in this thing? Why doesn't the SEC step in and say, we'll handle this? You've proven that you can't do anything right. So we're going to go ahead and.
Because there's still. The weird thing with the NCAA and the SEC and college football in general is there's still so many independent parties working together. So, like, there's still the bowls that work independently of the league and the NCAA. And so, I guess theoretically, the NCAA could ban them from the SEC championship game. I don't know.
Well, that would be a postseason ban. I mean,
yeah, but I always wondered that, though. Like, what gives the NCAA the right to ban a conference championship game when the conference puts that on, not the NCAA?
I don't know. Could we get into one huge fight? I do think Tennessee drug their feet a little bit last year because they suddenly realized you could be in a college football playoff. And the last thing you would want is for Tennessee to get a postseason ban and you're in the college football playoff. That would be bad.
And I don't know how
really, really bad, Caleb.
Is the college football playoff sanctioned by the NCAA or is it sanctioned by the bowls and the athletic and the conferences?
I think it's just the SEC.
No, I mean, technically, like officially as an independent party, who puts it on? Is it technically a collection, an agreement just between the conferences and the bowls, or did the NCAA somehow sanction this? I mean, I feel like the NCAA had nothing to do with it, did they?
No. Now, Hoghead's saying if Pruitt tells him Fulmer knew what was going on, then it could be much more severe. Could it? Fulmer's gone too. I mean, that's a great point, Hoghead. That's a fantastic point.
I think it could be severe because of the way they let Fulmer go.
Yeah, you brought up this point, which was brilliant about a month ago. Repeat that for those that didn't hear, because obviously, listen, it's better for us if everything goes well, but we're objective and honest, and that's kind of our niche because that's what we've done during our careers, and that's what we're going to continue to do. But Caleb brought up a great point about a month ago.
Yes,
they did not separate themselves from Phillip. They almost celebrated him.
Yeah, it was they allowed him to have, so they fired Pruitt, just straight up fired, 4 calls. We're not going to pay the rest of his salary is basically what
considered shooting him in an alley, I was told. They didn't really.
I mean, they were like, we
Come here, Jeremy. We got something for you. It's Joe Pesci time.
They, oh Lord, okay. So they were Joe Pesci from Goodfellas with Pruitt. They were Joe Pesci from Home Alone with Philip.
Yeah, they weren't throw Mama off the train, Joe Pesci.
Yes, they were. They threw Pruitt to the wolves, and then they said, "We'll let Fulmer step down with a severance package and a buyout and a retirement plan because of everything he's meant." Huge mistake. Huge mistake. Tennessee should have separated themselves completely from Fulmer in that moment. I don't care how sentimental you are about what he did for the university.
Okay, but you and I know that Philip and I have had our disagreements. We've had our issues. I would even have trouble if I were the chancellor with the issues that he and I have had on a personal level. It would be really difficult for me to throw him under the bus after all he did for the university, including.
You don't have to throw him under the bus for his success as a head coach. You can throw him under the bus as an athletic director, though. No severance.
You just come out and say, we made a mistake. He was obviously not ready for this role. It still makes him look like a doofus.
No, I mean, that's fine. You had either he was not ready or he knew what was going on, so there's going to be no severance package. The thing is, the minute you gave him a severance package, that was it. You made it very clear at that point. They should have not let him walk away with any dime whatsoever. He's going to be fine. He made a good bit of money coaching football. I'm sure he's made smart investments. He has endorsements all over the state of Tennessee. You know, he had the first Tennessee, I guess it's First Horizon now, endorsements back in the day. Like, he's good. Okay. They should have cut bait with him like that. They should have said, no severance. They should have given a speech on, we are very disappointed in what Philip Fulmer did in this situation. And I'm sorry, that's just where I'm at with it.
I don't even think you have to do that. I don't even think you have to say we're not pleased with him. He was a failure as an athletic director. I think you just don't give him the severance. So that would be you're not as happy medium. So to speak.
Don't call it a step down. Call it a fire. Like, make it clear you fired him as athletic director and you're not giving him the severance. You fired him for calls, just like you did with Pruitt.
Yeah, but you don't even have to say the word fire nowadays. I
think legality, if you don't give him the severance package, you kind of have to fire for calls at that point.